Hello, and welcome to episode 6, I believe, of the When We Quiet Umineko podcast. Ugh, God, disgusting. Ooh, woo. All right, I'm going to try that again.
Are you
guys
feeling
can keep
unwell,
this in the...
Lorenzo?
Yeah, you can keep it in the recording if you want to or not. Okay, When We Cry.
Yes, the second
Umineko.
episode of the second episode.
Book Club, second episode of Umineko, second book club episode of
incredibly confusing.
Oh my god. Okay.
You just say maybe like EP2 part 2?
Yes, that's exactly what I have in my notes, and I literally cannot
part
say
2
that.
Deluxe XL.
You cannot read. That's me.
You cannot reread because you will cry.
Exactly. Umineko Book Club Part 6, Episode 2, Part 2. Hi, welcome. I'm Lorenzo. Next guy.
I'm Des. Next person.
Hello, this is Mushroom.
God damn it. All right, well, hello. How are you guys? It's been almost...
Lorenzo!
It's been almost a month, and I forgot how to read, so I'm sorry.
This is just us documenting Lorenzo's meltdown moment. Just right before we were recording, Lorenzo's like totally peaceful, like haha, like haven't heard you for a while, and now I'm just hearing Lorenzo melting down. I'm like,
yeah,
and just like all the words are falling off the page, all the walls are turning.
I didn't know you had this mode.
I do all the time.
I had never heard you like this, Lorenzo.
Oh well, I don't actually like speak up a lot in the server, so I'm just like, I'll just freak out on my own over here. So
yeah, sure. Do so if you feel as much.
Yeah, it's just me all the time. So now you know I've revealed my wild side, as some might call it. But how are you guys? What's going on with your lives? Des, what's going on with you? What's the latest goss?
Finally managed to order a fucking adapter for my Wii U Pro controller to work on my Switch, because the Wii U Pro controller is the invention where engineering has peaked. That controller is like the best fucking controller ever. It would be the Joy-Cons if they didn't drift. So
right.
Yeah, it fucking demotivates me to buy new games for the Switch, just because why am I buying a game if I can't fucking play it correctly?
Exactly.
Right? So finally I've managed to order one of those adapters. I wasn't able to before for some reason. I don't know why. My country just be like that sometimes. I don't know. So yeah, I finally managed to do that. Have you watched Evangelion, Lorenzo?
I watched approximately 5 episodes and gave up because I thought it was kind of boring. But, you can convince me to finish the whole thing again if you...
Well, you want me to convince you to...
Sure.
To watch Evangelion?
Pitch it to me.
So if Evangelion is like... I don't like saying good things about Evangelion, because when you think about people saying good things about Evangelion, you think about video essays that... fucking go find meaning where there is none. So just while I explain to you why Evangelion is actually good, referencing things that are actually in the story instead of finding meaning where there is none.
Okay, well, you're talking to somebody who spent 300 hours reading Umineko, where you have to actually find things where you have to basically English literature meanings out of every single thing, so...
No, yes, but that's different, because there you're finding meaning where there's actually meaning to be found.
Got you.
So the reason I got so excited about you referencing Umineko is just because that's actually where I was gonna lead into, because we really like the characters in Umineko and how real they feel. And fucking Shinji and Asuka in Evangelion, they feel so fucking real. Like, honest to God, like, those two characters feel like the most alive characters I've fucking watched in anime, basically.
Really?
It's really cool to see these two characters and how they interact and their progression through the story, and like seeing how real they feel and how real their problems feel, even though this is a setting about giant fucking robots fighting angels that come from space. It's kind of weird, this dichotomy between this weird setting and these characters with actual real problems, actually well executed and portrayed. I don't know, I just really like Evangelion. And there are these movies called Evangelion Rebuilds that everyone talks shit about. So I finally decided to give them a try, and they're actually really good. So I'm part of the cult now.
Nice. we just went over Jess's life so far, his story so far. Long story short, Wii U Pro Controller, Splatoon 2 Master, watch Evangelion.
Oh, I see.
When have I mentioned Splatoon 2?
You said Pro Controller. I
did not mention Splatoon.
You gotta plug Splatoon 2 because it's the best game ever.
Yeah, Splatoon 2 is pretty cool.
And also Puyo Tetris 2 coming out on the 8th. Very soon, so catch me on that. I'm going to just be playing that and skipping work and never coming out of my room just to play that.
That's impressive.
What? You're going to skip work, Lorenzo? What if your boss is listening to this?
I don't know. I mean, no, nobody's going to listen to this about some niche visual novel. Oh, the sad reality.
Wouldn't it be cool if your boss was into Umineko?
Right.
And was listening to this?
That'd be kind of cool. Give us something to talk about, but we're kind of busy with, solving crimes, but can't do that. But yeah, my life. Since we last talked, I finally fucking beat Touhou 6. I do not recommend it. It'll permanently make you angry and bitter, so I did the next logical thing and installed Touhou 7, and now I'm trying to beat that. In addition to that, what did I do? I don't think I mentioned this before, but I beat Resident Evil 4 in October. It was pretty good. Do recommend. Started Shibuya Scramble 428. Pretty good. Halfway through that right now. Tons of reading. Tons of looking at the screen. I look at the screen all day at work, and then I come home and look at the screen some more, and it gives me a headache behind my eyes. And
I totally understand that. Since my major just requires me staring at a computer all the time, and then so I just stare at a computer, and then after I finish staring at my computer, what I do for fun is I just stare at my computer more. I watch YouTube, I play Minecraft.
Yes.
So I actually had to get myself blue light glasses. They're pretty amazing. You can get higher capacity blue light glasses from I guess through actual glasses stores, but I just bought this off Amazon, and I'm like, ooh, it does help. I promise.
Yeah, no.
I feel like I may have evolved as a human being because I know I've noticed some years from now I just don't get those kinds of headaches anymore.
Evolved as a human being.
I can just perpetually look at a screen.
Impervious to blue light, huh? You think you're better than us?
I am, because I can read Umineko straight. How about that?
Can't beat that, I guess.
Right. Wow, what a superpower. I should have some of those blue light glasses too. Because wait, aren't you a CS major? You'd have to stare at a screen.
Yeah,
pandemic
exactly.
Or not?
My major is not exactly CS, but I do CS related things. It's more like a blend between CS and graphic design. Or web design and graphic design.
Nice.
So all I do is stare at a screen anyway. Even if I'm not on campus, I just stare at code and that's just it.
Ugh, nerd.
Yeah, I guess. Oh, STEM represent, I guess.
Any other life updates people want to share?
Okay. I do. Okay.
Yeah,
so
go for it.
My life update is that after my birthday, I got Age of Calamity.
Happy birthday.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's very late at this point, but I pre-ordered it, which I usually would not tell people to pre-order anything. And after I pre-order Age of Calamity, I will still tell you, don't pre-order anything.
Nice.
I really like it, but there's a lot of problems. There's it's the type of game that you could realize, this is the difference between a PS4 and a brick, and the brick is a Switch, and Switch is just not they can't run a lot of frames. When you play Age of Calamity, the frame drops is so intense that you're it goes from 30 frames to 8 frames, and you're
that's so
what
weird.
The fuck is happening?
Do you ran Hyrule Warriors so well? Wait, isn't that Hyrule Warriors on the Switch as well? Do you know if the Switch has any problems with Hyrule Warriors?
What do you mean?
The original?
No, I have never played Hyrule. I think Hyrule Warrior, the original, runs really well. I think it's just Age of Calamity doesn't run that well.
Oops.
Well, maybe it's because of... Do you remember when Breath of the Wild came out and everyone was flipping their shit because the Switch couldn't handle rendering all of the Leaf Blades in the map? So they had to update the game and for the Switch to actually be able to run Breath of the Wild without fucking heating up and dying because of all the Leaf Blades in Breath of the Wild.
Exactly.
Maybe that's the reason why why Age of Calamity has frame
Yeah,
drops.
I think that's what everybody has thinking about. There's a lot of assets that it has to load, and it just takes a while. It doesn't really bother me that much since I don't have a PS5 to compare it to, unlike my friend, which she just been telling me. She's like, "Oh, I can't play Age of Calamity because I have a PS5," and I'm like, "Shut the fuck up."
See, but okay, I have a wild take on this. I actually like the frame drop, but on specifically on Hyrule Warriors games, because it feels like the only times when I remember Hyrule Warriors having frame drops on the Wii U was when I was doing such a massive fucking brutal strike on the enemy that a lot of enemies were dying at once. So it was, I think my brain has been conditioned to think, okay, frame drop, I'm doing well on the game.
That's funny.
And also, it's like it's like a slow motion shot.
It's like you're breaking the Switch by being so good at the game.
Yeah,
I guess so. I mean,
yeah, exactly.
It gets distracting. I mean, I don't mind it. Like, I've been still playing it.
Right? I mean, even like the PS4 can kind of drop a little. I played 13 Sentinels, and that thing has over 1,000 things on the screen at the same time, and I can't imagine a Muso game just trying to do the same thing on Switch, because I don't know, not to be like console elitist, but it just be like that.
It's fine. I mean, I played Nier Automata, and I remember, and on PS4, and I was like, even on PS4, I cannot tell you what the fuck was happening half of the time. The game just, it's bullet hell, but 3D, so it's really fucking confusing to look at.
Yeah.
But...
Yes.
That's the top one game I really want to play before I fucking die, but Nintendo just won't have that fucking game on their console.
Nier Automata. Nier Automata
and I can play it on computer because my fucking PC has... I can't! Mushroom, you know my PC, it has as much power as a Casio calculator.
Well, one day you'll get a super high-end gaming PC just for you to play Nier and click through visual novels. One day.
Yeah, basically that's how I feel about a Switch. I'm like, Switch is basically useful for playing Breath of the Wild, Splatoon 2, and then visual novels, and that's it probably.
And Puyo Tetris 2. You got to play Puyo Tetris 2 all the time.
Oh, I play Tetris 99 all the time.
Yes.
Anyway, sorry. Let's get on to the actual meat of the episode, which is actually talking about Umineko.
Yeah.
Oh, this isn't a console discussion podcast?
Console War 2020.
3DS best console.
Oh my god. I've been trying to dig up my Style Savvy game. I can't find it. Anyways, we are...
Turn off the Golden Witch!
Yes. Okay, hello. Yes, episode 2, part 2. Previously on the previous book club episode, we saw that the chessboard was prepared. Everybody from episode 1 is on Rokenjima again, like in episode 1, but now we have Beatrice, aka Beatrice, and Battler overseeing what's about to unfold from an outside-looking-in perspective. Kind of weird. You're in this like smoking room. It's like they added a, I wouldn't say omniscient narrator, but basically an omniscient narrator is now like a character / perspective in the form of the Golden Witch, Beatrice, and Battler. They talk about what's to come as if it's a battle of wits, and we're about to find out why. So, at the beginning of this chunk of the episode, post chessboard prep, we see Maria's flipping her shit about that rose, that wilted rose that she was so obsessed about in the previous episode. She's doing the same thing about that, and is also raving TF about Halloween and becoming a witch. She activates her hyperfixation / possessed mode and talks about the subject like a savant. Quite weird. Rosa thinks she needs to cut her shit out. It's a real sibling vibe. You know, she's like just annoyed by what a 9-year-old's talking about, and she's easily like in her 30s, I think, right?
That is true. They do feel more like siblings.
Right, exactly. So everyone except Rosa and Maria make way for the guest house to put things away, and while Rosa and Maria are alone in the rose garden, Rosa beats the shit out of Maria and her candy because she can't stop being a cringe lord.
No.
And an interest,
Oh my god, Lorenzo.
right? But like the interesting thing is that Maria just kind of takes it on the chin, and she's like asking, like crying for help from her mom. You know, who's like beating her right now. She's like, save me, mommy, the bad witch is here and ruining my life. So,
Yeah.
interesting, you know?
Adding fuel to the flame.
Right. She's like, it's like, you know, when babies say they want to go home when they're already at home. She's crying for her mom who's beating her. It's just kind of heart-wrenching, but, you know, she was being extra cringe, so does she deserve
Oh my
it?
God. Any kind of those interactions between Rosa and Mari is so fucking heartbreaking.
Exactly.
Like, because you're just like, how do you get out of this situation? They're so far deep into this fucking downward spiral.
Exactly. But, you know, did she deserve it? She was being kind of cringe. Anyways, vote on your phones. We'll keep going. So Rosa shows her, like, two-faced bitch self and returns to the guest house like nothing happened. She tells everyone, oh, the roses were so beautiful. I just beat the shit out of my daughter and told her to stay there forever. I mean, LOL. I'm so quirky.
You know, as always.
Right. I mean, she just says that the roses were so captivating that she decided to stay out there with Maria. But she feels bad about it and cries in her room. Poor her, right? I just beat my daughter so bad and told her to stay outside. Poor me. Anyways, we cut to Canon asking Maria in the rose garden if she's all right. Maria goes, hee cringe mode again, says, oh ho, the witch is going to solve absolutely everything. And Canon's like, I'll give you the candy you just gave me to replace your trampled one. But Maria's like, you stupid hoe, only a witch can fix this. Oh, Beatrice-sama, come here. And Canon's like, oh my god. And he starts to remember the whole incident that we mentioned in the previous episode, like the flashback situation where Beatrice helped Shannon and George hook up. Canon's like, I don't like this. This is fishy AF. But that happens. We cut to this.
Canon does not like Beato.
Dead ass. So we cut to the siblings, the four heirs, I guess. I wouldn't call them heirs because they're trying to work that out.
Heirs.
But
heirs to the throne.
Right. So the siblings
throne
of
money.
Exactly, but they're the real Game of Thrones.
Of the need.
We cut to them talking about Kinzo's absence again, and they're prepping for the inheritance discussion. Natsuhi's like, maybe he just needs to like rest in his room for like the rest of the weekend. The doctor says he's doing okay, so you really don't need to see him. But Ava's like, I think we really should see him, and Natsuhi's like, nah. And and we cut to Kyrie and Rosa just trying to avoid that whole shit show. And Shannon comes to serve them tea. They all talk about the impending typhoon. Kyrie's like, I know raising a little girl is so hard, but, do your best. You're doing great. And then Rosa's like, uh-huh. And thunderstorm happens. She's like, I'm doing a great job as a parent. And immediately a typhoon comes to lock them in. Like, that's not an omen. So Rosa finally remembers that she left Maria out in the garden. And she's like, I'm doing just fine as a parent. And she's like, oh my god, I know Maria's dumb enough to stay outside in the rain like that. I think we should go find her. So Rosa goes to the garden, apologizes to Maria. Maria's like, it's okay, the bad witch just came and beat the shit out of me, but now you're here. Welcome back, mama. Anyways, Beatrice is here, bitch. So you see Beatrice materialize with this sweet ass school uniform, I guess.
It's like little coat, like a shorter plaid skirt, like really cute. Like it's a different kind of Beatrice from the first Beatrice. More casual, I say.
Right? Like a school uniform crop top. I dig it. I should.
Yeah, school uniform crop top. Yeah.
So wait, are you telling me the witch just came from the front door?
Yeah, she like materialized and just started slaying, killing it, as the kids these days call it. With her sick fit,
I mean, it's not. She's not physically killing. She's just like slaying it with her. She got good drip.
Right.
She
got it. If looks could kill, and hands and magic, if magic could kill,
Beato be like, I came, I saw, I.
Exactly. So she materializes out of thin air. She's like, I'm back, bitches. She fixes Maria's candy with her magic, impresses Maria, but Rosa's like, uh-oh, I think I know where you're from. And she's like, maybe she's from that portrait or elsewhere. We'll get to that later. She Beatrice gives them sealed envelopes with the mark of the family head, and she tells them to read the letter in front of everybody else and tells Maria to...
And then everyone gets into Smash.
Right, everybody's invited. Has that little Super Smash emblem invitation bullshit going on. But
Yeah.
she's like, okay, Rosa, read this in front of everybody else very carefully. And Maria, go piss off to the guest house until lunch. Yeah. Rosa, Ava, and Rudolph were about to milk a bunch of money out of Kraus, like in episode 1. But they're like, oh my god, this 19th person, Beatrice witch, is gonna throw a wrench in all of it.
Yeah.
And
Who is this bitch?
Right?
She just pops up and means to steal all of our money? Dude, what is going on here?
Right?
I think you called her. Huh, Kraus, did you call her? And Kraus like, no, I think you called her, Eva. And that's just this back and forth.
Exactly. So Beatrice finally enters the mansion, runs into Genji, talks to him like, she belongs there, and Kyrie accidentally runs into them, and she's like, I hate her already. And Natsuhi pops up, doesn't actually even talk about seeing Beatrice. She's just like, that was weird. So Genji takes Beatrice to Kinzo's stinky room, and she's like, how long has it been since he's come out of his room? And Genji's like, he'll probably stay here until he can meet you again, even if he became a literal ghost, And Beatrice is like, I can't get inside because he put a magic circle on this thing, but it's on like Donkey Kong, man. We're gonna start this witch's game. If I win, I'm gonna take everything back from him. Like, they talked about
including your rare Yu-Gi-Oh cards, Kinzo.
Take all your gold, and especially those Yu-Gi-Oh cards I lent over.
I know where you keep them, Kinzo.
Your fucking Ojama cards, they're all mine. But if he wins, I get to be his little witch bitch forever.
Which
I
bitch
guess.
is?
I'm gonna be held captive.
Which bitch?
I don't know. I could have been more clever, but I couldn't. I'm obviously like losing it mentally, but it's fine.
Golden bitch, Beatrice.
Right. She's gonna be his little I don't know, plaything or whatever. Kind of weird, but Beatrice is holed up
let's just keep
in
going.
her little special Beatrice guest
This
room.
is kind of weird.
Cannon comes to serve her food, and they have a heated conversation. Cannon's like, I hate your vibes, and Beatrice is like, I'm gonna end things with Kinzo once and for all. Everything's gonna be returned to the Golden Lands, and I know you'd love the Golden Lands. And she's like, it's like gonna be your day of release from Furniture Hood, like you've been looking forward towards all these years. And Cannon's like, yeah, I'm just an emo bitch boy who wants to get Golden Land out of here, but also Jessica, and Shannon's into Cucklord George at the moment, so fuck you, Beatrice. I'm gonna hold out a little bit longer. And Beatrice is like, kiss my feet, bitch. You know how the epitaph goes. I'm gonna kill everybody soon. Or as the Twilights are listed, it's 6 people, then a couple. I wonder who that's going to be. And Cannon's like, no, you wouldn't. And Beatrice is like, yes, I would.
You bet, bitch.
I like how you encapsulate so perfect with the vibes of these conversations.
Right. I mean, it's like 30 minutes of reading and talking, but I'm just like, this is exactly how it goes.
Yeah, exactly. Honestly speaking, reading it is like kind of killing. Definitely, reading Umineko is probably just like such a drag. Not a drag. It's just long.
It's a slog.
It's a slog.
No, for sure. Like, I mean, in the previous episode, when they discover the final few Twilights, when they barge into the bloody parlor with Maria just like doing her creepy singing in the corner shit, like, it was scary for like 5 minutes, and then it just kind of wanes because they're still talking about how gory and disgusting it is, and you're just reading like
totally. You're like, oh, the actual shocking factor would have been you just describing it and then just like kept going, but then because you decided to over-explain it, it just becomes less and less scary.
Right, Kishi Verbose King. Anyways,
I like it.
I know. So for some people, it's amazing world building, but for others it's like, it's
not quite world building. It's like, okay, let's imagine the following. So you're hella hungry, okay? You guys, both of you are hella hungry, and on your plate you have the greatest steak, the greatest steak you've ever seen, with barbecue sauce, not on my titties but on the steak. everything you could ask for on that fucking plate. And then you finish it and you're like, man, that was amazing. But I'm still hungry. And then they present to you with a full banquet. And you can fucking eat the whole banquet and feel satisfied. That's basically Umineko. Like, you could have a short description, or a short, very well written description, or you could have a very fucking long description, but equally as good, at least in my eyes. So of course I'm gonna
No, I totally get it.
like the fact that I have a whole banquet instead of just a single plate.
I don't understand why every time Des is trying to make a metaphor or like trying to make an analogy, it always involves eating food.
Well, that's how they did it
Is
in
that
Umineko. It kind of rubbed off on
that-
him, huh?
I hadn't noticed that mushroom.
It feels like every time it's like, what if there's a bunch of food? And I'm like, what? Like, when were there a bunch of food involved?
Right. But, like, no, I definitely get it. You want to savor every single second of it, and every bit of it is super good. But imagine this. Imagine you're in front of this giant banquet, but you're holding in a giant shit, and you just have to eat it as fast as possible. So I'm just like, I want to get through this as soon as possible.
That's exactly my point, Lorenzo. Because you're not supposed to like, if you're not feeling like eating the whole banquet, then just don't eat the
Okay,
whole
this is
banquet.
math
Eat what you
cringe, and I
can,
need
go
you to
take a
move
shit,
on.
enjoy the shit, and then come back and enjoy the dinner some more.
Okay, anyway,
All right.
let's move on.
Yeah, we cut to the cousins in the parlor, and Battler kind of goes into a mini coma. Kind of weird, but they cleverly use this as a transition from Battler on Rokenjima to Battler in this purple smoking room. Just like he hops out of the frame, fourth wall breaking style, and he's like, huh, this is how we're going to explain the coexistence of Battler on Rokenjima and Battler in the third person perspective.
Yeah, this is the first time we see the overlapping of both of the meta world and the game board world.
Exactly, it's really cool.
Like, what was your guys? I'm very interesting to know how you guys felt, if you still remember, on your first read through, I guess, before you got to this point. Like,
I was confused.
what did you think? Like,
I was lost. I was
What?
like, okay, I guess I understand how this character in the story is basically narrating his perspective from the outside in, but I'm just like, okay, cool. I'm just going to take everything at face value and accept that this is a story within a story.
yeah, I was so lost. I was like, so what? So the events are repeating, but not actually, because these things are different. What is going on this story?
Exactly.
And then, and then I was like, why is Butler acting like this is the first time he's going through this? What the hell? You've been through this, man. But then, of course, Butler pops out from the Met world, and that's when I'm like, okay, so that isn't Butler. This is Butler. That's another Butler. What? Okay, okay.
Right. But this Battler's also mega pissed that Beatrice introduced her, like, inserted herself into this story as this 19th rando popping up on the island to mess everything up. And he's like, I'm gonna deny as much magic shit as I can because this ain't flying, Mary Sue ass bitch. And Beatrice is like, check this shit out. So the siblings discuss the presence of this 19th person, and after Curie's like, hey, I think Krauss is trying to pull something because there's this lady who's claiming to be this Beatrice lady. She might say she's like the illegitimate child of Kinzo and take all the inheritance for herself. Or maybe she's like an unassociated third party, and she's like, here I am. At the moment, since this mystery lady apparently came by herself, they can't really prove anything's for real, especially since the island's cut off from the outside world in the storm. They like say, oh, this is like reality's like cut off from, or not, sorry, Rokenjima's cut off from the outside world. Nothing's real. Our eyes aren't real. How can we trust our reflections? How can we trust this 19th
Jaden
person?
Smith, the true philosopher.
Yeah.
Right. They have that.
Isn't there a line to where the island is overlapping with the monster world or something? Because it's the end of... No, wait. It's October, and October supposedly... It's a mythical month.
Yeah.
Where the world is closer to the monster world or something.
Yeah, they go over the history of Halloween.
I like that line
and they're
so
like,
much.
oh yeah, this is where the spirit world and the living world collide, and you have to like, you know, dress up and scare everything else because we're so close to death or whatever, you know.
Yes, I really like that description because it really helped me kind of contextualize what was going on in this narrative and kind of like get some grounding for me to stand on while reading through this.
Right, exactly. Insert some Halloween history and sets the mood. It's quite spooky. It's good for Halloween reading. If your Halloween happens to be happens to
All year
consist of
round.
reading a 150-hour long novel. But I digress.
Or your Halloween lasts us for 2 years, because that's usually how, on average, people just take like 2 years to read this.
Exactly.
What?
I mean, 2
No.
years already passed
Yeah,
in 2020. I'm just saying. So it's your year to
That's
read
very true.
Umineko,
That's
honestly.
very true. 2020 will last for a month and also lasts at the same time 10 years. So 2020 is a long year.
Well, to me, it's actually the opposite. It felt so fucking short. But anyway, going back to what you said, Mushroom, that people usually take 2 years to read Umineko. What people are you interacting with? In my experience,
I mean,
the one
like,
who took the longest to read out of everyone I know, and I took a year.
I just mean like 2 people I know. Well, actually, 2 people. One person I know took a whole summer to read Umineko, but like most people I know now who are currently reading are like reading super freaking slow. I feel like it's gonna take them 2 years, but I mean, Umineko took me 2 weeks to read.
What?
Yeah. Wait, have I never told you the story?
No,
like,
what?
so the whole story about me playing Umineko is that I was.
Yes, I remember now. Keep
I
going.
think I finished like question arc pretty not fast, but I finished question mark in maybe like within like a short week. And then after I finished it, and I remember I was watching the anime, so I was like, oh no, now I have to read answer arc. And I think like it was during my like a summer and like a school summer, so I was like, oh, I'm just gonna wake up every day and read it. So I just woke up every day, read 12 hours or like 14 hours, went to sleep, woke up again, and did that every single day for like 8-10 days or 7 days, and then I finished like answer arc that way. Like I finished like answer arc, and it was just insane because answer arc is just so long, and I remember getting so bored in EP7, just like trying to just skim parts and just let the text fly really fast because I was like, I can't take this anymore. Like, this is so boring.
The true EP7 experience.
Totally get it though.
No, I actually get it too, because I was talking to another friend recently. She was like, yeah, I finished Somnium Files in like 2 days. I just had to finish it. So like I was playing it nonstop in class every time I...
Yeah, no, I can totally understand that. I feel like I really want to get into Fat Morgana.
Oh, same.
Well, I mean Fate of Morgana, but like I feel like everybody in the fandom just call it Fat Morgan, and that's why I think it's really funny. So like I really want to read it, but I feel like if I start reading it, I know it's like 50 hours. Is it 50 hours or 60 hours?
Is it only 60 hours?
I feel like I would just like read it in like 3 days because no, maybe longer actually. I might be extremely grossly misunderstood. Like, how long is it?
I think it's only 30.
That's so short. What the hell? If 30? I knew it was that short, I would have read it already.
Ooh, 30 to 35 hours? Easy. Gonna fucking do that. So short. Talk to me next time when I could tell you about how Fate Morgana is better than Umineko. Just kidding. That's what people keep telling me. They're like, "Oh, Fate Morgana is so good. It's probably my favorite. I would probably like it more than Umineko." And I was like, I can't possibly think that I like anything more than Umineko at this point. Anyway, sorry. Let's continue.
We were at Rosa confronting Maria, asked how she knows Beatrice from before, and Maria's like, I've been seeing her like ever since I was little, every time we come here. And she's like, wait, what the fuck? There's like an extra person just here on the island? Yeah, so there's like a bunch of evidence pointing towards there's an actual like extra person who's like teaching Maria how to be like a cringe lord. And Rosa's like,
shut up. I'm gonna become the resident Maria protector. I decided I am going to advocate for how good and nice she is.
I side with you, Sakutaro.
How she doesn't deserve all the horrible abuses that is put on her.
Fine. I guess she's 9. Whatever. But Rosa shook because she's like, wait, why is there an extra person here? Oh my god. And she almost opens that letter to like see what's going on, and Maria's like, you better listen to that witch because
it can only be open at the dinner table, right?
Horrible things are gonna happen, just like...
Yeah, she was like, she almost opens a letter to see what's going on, but Maria's like, don't do it because you're Beatrice's good widow girl. And she's definitely too freaked out to deviate from Beatrice's plan, from this extra person's plan. And she's like, okay, fine, I'll listen, but I also don't want you to talk to this bitch ever again. So we cut to George, Jessica, and Shannon in the guest house talking about the impending marriage engagement. You see the servants in the kitchen talking. Sorry, I'm like tripping over my words. There's so much jumping around that happens in this story. It sounds like a bad fan fiction, but I swear to you, it's kind of framed pretty well. I just can't do it justice. But after the guest house scene about George and Shannon getting married, Goda's in the kitchen making a fuss about how he can't serve like the esteemed guest or the head Kinzo guy. He's like, hey, what gives? Why can't I like see them face to face? You get this weird Kumasawa monologue about the new guest appearing on the island that gets you thinking about if she's like in on something on this like 19th person plan. Goda's pissed at Shannon that he gets to serve the heads, and Cannon's like hiding around a corner to quickly comfort her. He's like, forget about that guy. They talk about Beatrice and their conflicting opinions. Cannon's like, hey, you know, Beatrice is no good. And Shannon's like, no, we're like humans now because of her, right? Or we can love now because of her. But Cannon's like, we're furniture and we're gonna fucking die starting tonight. Furniture, furniture, furniture. That's all he can think about. Cannon tells Shannon that he knows that George is gonna probably propose to her and they can avoid death if she like, you know, refuses him. And Shannon's like, but my heart. Cannon's like, no, sis, I love you. Don't do it. But also, I love Jessica. I can't decide.
I don't remember Cannon being like that to Shannon.
Kind of. He's conflicted because Beatrice is like, all right, I know I brought these two together, but I can also tear them apart. And the only way to save them is by having Shannon reject George's love.
No, what I mean is like Cannon loving Shannon. That's not the thing.
Oh, no, the sister thing. He's like, no, I love you like a sister, but also I love Jessica, you know. The whole thing about tearing apart the two who are close, that's really fucking with him. And he's like, oh no, I don't know what to do. Everybody's going to be blasted to the Golden Land. And I have so many emotions right now.
Well, yeah, the whole point is because Cannon's just freaking out because he has no idea what Beatrice meant by tearing the two who are loving. So it could mean, like, either, like, Shannon and George, or, like, what if it's Cannon and Jessica, and what if that is
right,
it?
Exactly.
You know?
Yes. So he's freaking TF out about that. Cross and Genji try to coax Kinzo out of the room, but Kinzo's not having any of it. And inside the room, Kinzo and Nancho are inside the room, making out. I mean, they're playing chess with each other. Kinzo's telling him to check this shit out. The Golden Land's about to befall all of us on the island. And he's like, okay, whatever you say, Grandpa. Time to go to bed. And cut to Shannon and Beatrice talking in their room. It's not heated on the surface, but this is basically where Shannon shines. She's like, okay, bitch, I'm going to tell you right now, I am not furniture. I am going to marry this cucklord George, and you can't tell me otherwise. And Beatrice is like, you fucking stool, I made you and your bitch brother. He kissed my fucking feet and slobbered all over my toes. And Shannon's like, if you need me, I'm going to refer you to somebody else. Don't talk to me ever again. So she just kind of like does this whole insubordination thing in front of Beatrice. And like, you go off, queen. Like, don't even take Beatrice's shit, spit on her, and leave. Like,
it's pretty a powerful moment for Shannon, since like most of the time we see Shannon just being very meek and like quiet, and Shannon's just like, fuck you, Beatrice.
Exactly. It's a real power move on her.
Exactly.
And we cut to the dinner table. All this jumping back and forth. But we're finally at dinner. Dinner begins.
Finally, I was hungry.
The family's like, they're like, why the hell are there 2 extra seats? Well, they know why, because like Kinzo's not showing up, and they're like, okay, so like this 19th person that just showed up, and they start fighting in front of all the kids, and they're like, okay, kids, get out of here. We're gonna start arguing about inheritance in front of y'all.
Yep.
The siblings are like, we know you hired this like 19th person to like claim all the money so you can like get away with it. And Natsuhi's like, no, just wait a minute. And then Cross is like, shut the hell up, Natsuhi.
Oh,
I'm like,
Natsuhi, why are you like this, man?
Right, everybody's like in a tizzy because they absolutely have no idea what's going on. This like 19th person is here to like, you know,
steal what is there.
This wild card is here to stir some shit. The cousins are like not spirited away, but they're like, you know, shoot off to the guest house with Nanjo and Kumasawa. They're talking about this Beatrice person actually showing up because they all thought she was an urban legend. And Maria's, starting to fuss about them not believing in the witch, even though, like, the adults definitely know that she's here. She's here and ready to ruin their lives.
Yeah.
And they talk to Nanjo. They're like, yeah, he definitely had a mistress, Beatrice, but she died a while ago. But we don't know if there's actually a child, so, this person may be an actual illegitimate child, or this could be a ploy by the adults.
Mm-hmm.
Battler and Maria are arguing about magic and witches being real or not. Battler's like, there's a perfectly logical explanation for this. I just can't put my finger on it right now. Maria's like, you stupid idiot, believe in magic. This witch is gonna take us to the Golden Lands. Beatrice is gonna whoop your ass in your chessboard thinking. And then they keep talking about chess. It's really annoying, but whatever.
Ryukishi and his chess analogies.
I know, his chess, his banquet analogies. I know some of the food analogies rubbed off on you, Des, but, I'm not going to shit on it. George and Shannon are out in the gazebo again, like in episode 1. And this time they're talking about Beatrice's appearance. And Shannon's like, I definitely believe in Beatrice. I don't know what's up with this lady who showed up, though. Shannon's a little bit conflicted about Canon's warning about accepting the ring. But she's like, this is what it means to be engaged and, like, sacrifice your life for the one you love. They gush about what it means to get wedding ringed, I guess. And George is like,
it's his usual weird.
Yeah, his nasty self. He's like, oh, I know I'm such a shameful guy, but I'll be a better man for you, Shannon, yada, yada, yada. There's, like, some real incel hours going on where he says, Sayo, I'm going to fucking own you, and that's what an engagement actually is, and that's what this means. I don't need, like, an officiator. We're going to get married right this second. Put this ring on. You're my wife now. And then there's this, like, really, gushy scene about growing up all together and shit, and Shannon accepts the ring, and she's like, even in death we'll always be together, George-san. I'm so quirky. Shannon goes off to tell Cannon and says that she got basically married in their own eyes to Cannon, and Cannon's like, you idiot, I want to love, and my weddings are out of control for Jessica. I can't. Beatrice gave me feelings and I don't know how to think anymore. It cuts to the purple smoking room third-person perspective. So we have all this. Beatrice, from the third-person perspective, is like, she says to Battler, I told you, you stupid. All the pieces are lined up. 18 people are here. 13 will die. 5 will remain. Let's go. And
bars.
Bars. Dropping those bars.
Thanks for saying it like that. Bars. Straight up bars. She spits straight up facts to Battler. Best you can do is turn this game into a tie. Beat me by solving this epitaph. Open the door to the Golden Land and find the gold and destroy the ritual. Uramiya Battler.
A lot of screaming.
And that's the end of this recap, which was pretty long, honestly. Like, there's a lot going on, but
it doesn't feel like a lot, but there's just a lot of people talking and a lot of scene changes, so it's, like, very confusing in that way.
Right, but, like, the main takeaway is that this 19th person shows up. Cannon and Shannon are, like, all about this whole, like, love
notion
thing. They're like, I'm not furniture anymore, and you're like, why the hell are they so obsessed about being furniture and being loved? Like, are they dating above their, like, out of their leagues?
Well, they are. They aren't
dating furniture.
Right.
I mean, like, I think the whole thing is like they just feel inadequate. Like, I mean, without like talking about anything, just thinking about like the fact that they're orphans and they're like, and they like these like rich kids. And, like, who they're also technically serving. Like, that's totally dating out of their league. Like, in a way, like, they should, in their mind, they're like, we shouldn't even look at the master and, like, milady. You shouldn't have even made eye contact with them. If you look at them, they would burn you. Like, that kind of shit. Like, you know?
Right. Yeah. So it's a lot of that. And when I was first reading it, I was kind of annoyed by it. But, I mean, I'm not going to say anything else further than this for now, but I was like, oh, okay. Upon rereading it, I'm like, this is quite important, so keep your eyes out, first-time readers.
I actually didn't read this part. I remember the first time me experiencing this is actually in the anime, and I just remember, like, the anime has an easier time doing the visuals where, like, the world pauses, and then they, like, appear on top of the world. Like, there's many things that I kind of hate about, like, Umineko anime, but, like, I did think Umineko anime did a better job of, like, explaining some concepts or like making some concepts easier and faster to go down because it's not like 80 hours of reading. It's just like a 24 episode anime. Like, I think like it fails in a lot of parts, but there are parts that I think it did succeed in. And I think it might be very heretic of me to say that because I know everybody fucking hate the anime, but like I do think there's like some like merit to it, and like it did some parts right.
Right. It's super concise.
Matter of fact, I was already sharpening my knives, but oh well. I do respect you as a person, so I guess I'm not going to use them. Anyway, I think some of those problems, like visualizing how the meta world overlapping with the game board works, this could be easily fixed with a CG. You would need only a single CG to understand how the overlapping works.
Yeah, I guess Umineko doesn't actually have that much CG, so like it just doesn't like when it comes such like rare and far between, and that's why probably.
Right. And if you're not playing with the PS3 mod, you don't get any CGs at all, so you have to like use your mind's eye like you're reading an actual book. Oh no. But
well, it's still very different from a book.
Yeah, I guess with Ryukyushi sprites and everything.
Have you ever heard a book playing Prison Strip? I have not.
Right. Anyways.
Well, should we jump into the spoilery part?
Sure, yeah. So for those of you, we more or less exhausted our non-spoiler discussion. So thank you very much for sticking with us. If you've for first-time readers, please, if you do not want the rest of the story spoiled for you because it's quite good, log off. We'll see you again next time.
Yes.
Keep on chugging because it's only going to get better from here. Stick with us and we will go over the Twilights where people die. And they die pretty good. Just saying.
They die pretty good is my slogan.
My God.
Right.
I can't wait for us to get to a specific Twilight.
Yes. So until next time, see you guys. And now, spoiler talk.
See ya.
Get out of here.
Hello. How are you guys doing? So what have you guys been doing lately, huh?
We've been talking about this for almost an hour.
That is true. This episode's gonna be a long one.
Yeah, I didn't realize how long it would be after I went through it. I don't know if I took a lot of notes or it was just the sheer density of this portion of the chapter, but
I think it's because like for other chapters it's easier to like summarize like a whole scene like in a very coherent manner, but like because this episode has such like jumbled scenes, like, you have to explain every single scene when it shows up, even if it's not that important.
Exactly. You know? Oh, I was gonna say it's gonna get worse because the whole magic stuff that's about to get thrown at us. It's like, how do I even catch up?
Yeah, okay, so what kind of spoiler talk do we want to do? Where do we want to start, even?
Okay, so now we know exactly who this 19th person is, and you just gotta, think about, oh, okay, cool. Two people are actually one person, and this one person is being introduced as a 19th person, and you're like, huh?
If you thought it was hard for someone to have two identities at the same time with Shannon and Canon, then imagine having a third identity in Beatrice and having to play those three roles at the same time.
Yeah, so, okay, let's talk about the logistics of this. Because Beatrice, who's a schoolgirl Beatrice, only showed up in front of three people. Yeah. Or, three, people that's not Shannon and Canon. So, the first person is Rosa. No.
Rosa and Maria.
So, there's Maria. Yeah. So, there's Maria, Rosa. Let's count them as a team. Maria, Rosa. And then she runs into Kirie. And then, besides Kirie, it's...
Genji.
Right,
and Kumasawa.
Yeah. Genji. Yeah. So Genji. So, let's not talk about servants. But I think if there's something extremely deliberate to show up in front of, Kirie, why do you think that is? Is it because
Kirie...
Oh, all right.
Is it because Kirie is a outside person that couldn't have noticed?
I think it's because you'd have to show Beato to Kirie for her not to doubt the testimony of others. Because Kirie is essentially the second detective of the story before Erika comes in. Batra is the main one, and then Kirie is the assistant. She would be the main one, but since Batra is the main character, she's basically the assistant who helps Batra.
Yeah.
So you think that's the reason?
It's interesting how she doesn't appear in front of Hideyoshi because, you want a big idiot to kind of be hey, this is guy or this is X's person.
I think that's interesting though, but So do you think this is something that like Kiria didn't know who this person was, or did Kiria was bought off to believe who this person was?
Interesting.
I didn't mean
like,
it like that.
Because that's what my question is. Because part of me felt like Kiria was picked because Kiria would have been the person who's like farthest removed from everybody. Is in, I don't know. I wouldn't imagine Kiria would have a hard time like telling the difference between like, I guess like Shannon and Ken. Like, I guess like if everybody wasn't like wholly sure about the Shannon and Cannon thing, then they must have also couldn't like. It just feels very iffy to me because why didn't she appear in front of like Eva? Because Eva could have immediately saw through her and just called her bullshit. Like, do you think that is it? Like,
well,
is that how
maybe,
it works?
Okay, then let me go back to what I said and I'll come full circle to this. Because I interpreted your question wrong and then So what I meant by Kiria being essentially the detective is that when the group started theorizing about this person that only some people would have seen, Kiria would be one of the people taking the reins of the discussion. So she would have to appear in front of Kiria in order for the argument that this person actually exists to be on the table.
Oh, so it would be more true, like more believable because
yes.
it's Kiria.
And the reason it would be Kiria, not Eva, I think it would be because if someone showed up in front of Eva and said, "Yo, I'm gonna steal both your chance to get the headship and also all of the gold that your father has," Eva would have jumped on her throat, you know? So
that actually, yeah.
It would have to be Kiria.
That makes sense how she wouldn't tell Hideyoshi because he would tell Eva and Eva would take the reins and ruin everything.
I guess Hideyoshi would also work, but I think Kiria is a better person to appear in front of. It would have to be either Kiria or Eva, but Eva would be very irrational if someone appeared in front of her and meant to steal everything from her, you know? So Kiria is more calculative. So I guess if that was intentional, then I guess that would be my explanation for why she appeared in front of Kiria.
Yes, makes sense. And then they have like that whole, or from Rosa's perspective, you see her that she's like totally shocked from seeing this Beatrice person show up, and you think like, oh, she just thinks it's the person in the portrait that popped out, but it's actually her childhood trauma of seeing someone fucking die in front of her, and she's like, what do I do now?
Yeah, I think that's a very funny scene. Not funny. Funny is not the right word. Ironic scene, like thinking in future perspective. You're like, oh. Meanwhile, when everybody, all the viewers think like, oh, she just thinks she's seeing a ghost from the portrait, and she's like, no, she's seeing an actual ghost and like having flashbacks in the background right now.
Right. And then it's also interesting to see Maria, what was it? I think somebody mentioned this, I think it was Ava, Tris, was talking about how Maria seems to like see people in terms of personalities.
Yes.
So like even if this person's face is like the same as Canon or Shannon's, or even Rosa's like good witch, bad witch persona, she's like, these are distinct people. Beatrice is definitely a separate 19th person that we are seeing before our eyes. And the mama that was beating me up is a bad witch compared to the regular good mama who gives me candy and treats me nice and definitely doesn't beat my ass.
Yeah, I think that was a very good point that Beatrice brought up, the other podcaster. So yeah, I totally like think that's very true.
Well, going back to the logistics of Beato appearing on the game board. In retrospective, it makes a lot of sense for Beato to spend most of the time on VIP room, quote unquote, spending time inside the VIP room, right? Because then he also doesn't have to worry about actually being on that role.
But yeah, I totally understand what you're saying, Des, like, as in the idea, because she could just say, like, oh, Beatrice is in the room when there's, like, nobody there, or just, like, you know.
Oh, wait a minute, isn't there even a scene where someone breaks into the room and there's no one there, and they're like, well, I guess the witch went out for a walk?
Yeah, I think there is. I think it comes later, but like that scene definitely exists. Like when they were like, "Oh, let's go demand like answers from the witch," and then the witch is gone.
Damn, it's so fun to think about this in retrospective.
There's a lot of scenes in Umineko that's just extremely funny in retrospective, just like most scenes are.
And I forgot it was from Shannon or Cannon's perspective, or maybe even Jessica's, but they were talking about like the little altar setup in that room, just like miraculously changing before their eyes, or like
What?
when they weren't looking, like
Yeah, yeah.
there were like obvious changes to the room, and they're like, oh, I can't imagine who did this. Oh, it must be magic. But later on, you're like, oh yeah, they pulled this off with the keys among the servants. You know how they like removed the master key from the key ring and like swapped it out, and they're like, oh, that was magic too. But now that you know, it's like, you know, just an unreliable narrator.
Okay, actually, let's tackle the part that's about, I want to talk about all the Canon and Shannon argument parts. Let's talk about those. It's extremely funny just to think about it now. So what's your guys' thoughts?
The fucking scene where Goda's like bitching at Shannon about how he can't directly serve the master or the special guest, and then Cannon's just like hiding around the corner. I'm like, the first time I was reading it, I was like, what the hell, Cannon? Why aren't you like standing up to your to Goda when he's yelling at her? But then it makes more sense that he's like just around the corner, just like listening in, and then Shannon leaves the room and has that whole heartfelt conversation about, I love George so much, and Cannon's like, no, you can't, you gotta dump him now or you'll die. And you're like, now from in retrospect, you're like, okay, well, the threat of dying is coming from themselves. As Beatrice, you're like, there's this personality who's trying to hang on and believe in love and wants to get engaged to George. And then you have this other personality who's like, I was so bitter about everybody that I actually like kind of want to die. But also I'm starting to catch feels for my cousin. And then you have the Beatrice personality who's like, yes.
Yeah, I think it's kind of incredibly funny thinking about it retrospectively, because there's just so many things that you have to like account for. Like the whole concept of like, oh, you know, like it's just so conflicting on Sayo Yasu's side. It's just like there's so many thoughts. It's like, okay, should I pick my cousin or should I pick my other cousin? And like, what does that mean? And like, if I pick one of the cousin, the other cousin has to die because, you know, we can't.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Like somebody has to go, you know? That's why EP2 is great, because EP2 leads on to like like EP6, which is my favorite EP. I'm just going to continually say that, but it's just incredibly like, not awkward, but just like incredibly tense when you're like reading in the first time. It's just like two siblings arguing about like if they could love or anything, or like, or not siblings, but two like people who are really close, who are really good friends, who consider themselves family to each other. And you're like, wow, this is like really sad. Like they really want to be like with the people they love, but like, you know, they think they're furniture and they're like marrying upwards. But then when you're like actually understanding what's happening, you're like, oh no, this is Yasu having a 5-head move right now. Like she's like playing mental chess with herself, like weighing the like goods and bads of like, oh, who should I be with? Like, could I even be with anybody? Like, if I be with George, I can't be with Jessica. But what if like my heart's one neither? It's kind
so
of,
I just
really
realized that the Canon kissing Beatrice's feet, that's like symbolic of him conceding to the idea of going through with the Golden Land plan. I'm like, didn't
So
think foot
important.
kissing would be so symbolic, and also make the whole personality triangle that much more complicated.
It's also really sad because, at least from the way I see it, none of the three romantic options are actually good, quote unquote, because I feel like what Sayo feels isn't love per se. Because why does Shannon, for example, love George? It's not because George is anything groundbreaking, simply because, well, she doesn't quite have anyone else fitting for a romantic option around.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's not like she loves him because like he is so amazing and like so. It's just because he's the one who showed kindness to her and also cares for her, and that's why she loves him. Like it's very clear that like Yasu doesn't need love; she needs like therapists and a good family who cares about her, and like that just really sucks.
Yeah,
because she doesn't get either of those things.
Even though there are like 3 or 4 people who completely understand her situation from the ground up, none of them are able to actually help her get through shit. Genji's a fucking wall. Kumasawa is just fucking incompetent.
Oh yeah, no, I think it's really shitty. Like, I think nothing brings me more anger than thinking about Genji's existence, because, like, I think Genji saw this whole thing happen and went down, and then Genji's best plan was like, okay, let's just not talk about it and let's secretly raise this person up. Like, that is, like, such a shit plan that's, like, awful. And then, like, Kumazawa's like, oh, I guess I also know about this. Haha, I guess we should just never talk about it. Like, of course, like, when, like, Yasu, like, finds out about the truth, like, Yasu would snap, because Yasu's like, oh, like, so, not only I thought, like, this family was kind of shitty to me, but, like, I found nice people in this family, and the servants were, like, nice to me, they were, like, my family. She found out that every single person deceived her all this time, and, like, pretended that she was, like, anybody could have at one point, like, been more truthful to her, or, like, helped her.
Yeah.
But then, I don't know, it's just
juxtaposition of so many shitty scenarios, like major identity crisis, having no support whatsoever from anyone, being isolated from the world, having a horrible backstory, having the world come crashing down on you all at the same time. Like, how does...
And also just, like, subsequently being a very smart person. Like, as in, like, she's, like, Yasu is not remotely dumb. Like, Yasu, like, I guess if you had to say there's anything wrong, like, not wrong with Yasu, is, like, Yasu had to be extremely smart to figure all this shit out. That's not, like, her sin. Mm-hmm. It's like her downfall is because she figured everything out. Like, she could have been extremely not lucky. Like, if she could have lived an okay life if she didn't figure out the epitaph. Like, you know, like, how would I say? Like, Umineko is a kind of perfect storm that could only happen if all of the conditions are right. Like, Yasu has to be, like, smart enough to even solve the epitaph in the first place, and which is something that, like, most adults just, like, gave up on. Like immediately looking at it. So she had to be extremely smart, and she had to at least had enough conflict about George to decide on even, like, ending this all. Like, if she didn't even fall in love with George, that, like, this wouldn't even have been that big of a deal, you know?
Do you think, because, like, the reason Sayo could solve the epitaph was because Genji gave her a clue. So do you think if she didn't solve the epitaph, Genji would have continuously kept giving her clues until, I guess, I mean, giving them clues until they actually solve the epitaph?
I think
Genji's such a fucking bitch. Genji, why you be such a bitch, though?
I think Genji tipped off Yasu, whatever, Sayo, because he wanted to fulfill Kinzo's wish of apologizing to Beatrice again. So there's also that. So he was kind of, like, antagonizing them at the same time, trying to, like, be like, you're the rightful heir, but we'll make you suffer just a little bit, because I kind of don't know what to do with my life.
Yeah, like, I think that's crazy. Like,
right?
I mean, like, that... Ugh.
I mean, that's probably why he's just like, yep, you know, I will definitely, like, kill myself because I fucked you over so much.
Genji's like a total bottom. Like, what the fuck? Like, Genji's like, I will roll over for this. Like, I'm sorry I fucked you over. I guess if you tell me to kill 10 people, kill 5 people, and, like, stuff their stomach with candy, yeah, I'll do it for you. Like, you know, like, I'm your bitch now. I'm sorry. Like, that I caused you all those problems.
Right, and then Kumasawa with her monologue, you're like, okay, why the hell is she just, like, saying, oh, I feel so bad, but I can't do anything? And you're like, bitch, you did absolutely... She could have... There was so many points where she could have just, like, jumped in and be like, well, okay, let me help you, but also just, like...
I mean, Kumasawa also was the one who taught her how to do quote-unquote magic, which
cope?
I think is just, like... Yeah, to cope! Exactly!
Yeah, and you're just like... Okay, well, can't you, like, help out in better ways? But I just, it's a whole mess.
Yeah, and, like, and also just, like, who the fuck employs a 6-year-old child at a fucking, like, mansion?
Right.
Like, isn't that so weird? Like, I still think that's the most hilarious thing, is, like, Yasu was thought to be 6 years old, and she was working at a mansion where, like, high schoolers were working at the mansion. Like, of course they fucking hated her.
And they're gonna pick on her because she's 6, and she's like...
She's a baby!
She's like, "You stupid bitch," and she's like, "What's going on? I'm 6 years old."
Exactly. That's what I don't understand. I'm like, everybody in this family is so stupid that Genji's like, I don't know, like, she's a child, bring her to the mansion. I'm like, do you understand how age work? Like, you haven't even been to elementary school yet when you're 6. Like, what the fuck?
And even then, like, they're not actually 6. They're like, actually 9 or 10.
9? Yeah.
Yeah, because there's the whole hormone issue from, like, losing their nads. You're just kind of like, huh, interesting.
It's garbage. It's garbage, that's what it is. I don't get it.
Yeah, well, they deserve it. They're Shiramiya's just getting fucking blasted to oblivion. It's all their fault.
It's just trash. What do you think, Dust? What do you think I've heard, like the EP2 Part 2? Like, what's another thing that jumps out to you?
Well, coming back to that paragraph I mentioned about how the world would be closer to the spirit world or something. This is kind of a different subject from what we've been talking about. But I want to mention this before I forget to mention this, because, oh my fucking god, that's such a big part of why I was so well deceived during the first few episodes. Why is this narrative so compelling, and why does this narrative make so much sense when it's complete bullshit?
Yeah, make you believe in the spirit world and magic and stuff. It's like,
it's such
Halloween.
Bullshit. Why does it make so much sense?
Yeah, I think it's because I mean, it's funny for you to say that, Des, because I was totally like super on board with the idea, because I was like, oh, I just read Higurashi, ha ha ha, like definitely spirit world, the ghouls are coming out to fuck them over, like they're here to collect all the sins, like that totally makes a lot of sense. Like in my mind, at least you weren't even like getting deceived because you already read like Higurashi, but like I was totally on board. I was like, yep, like the witch is here to collect their sins, she's here to slaughter them, she's just deceiving them all, like, makes total sense.
Yeah, but when I was too, even though I hadn't read Higurashi, because it just makes sense. Everything about magic makes sense. Beato being trapped with only a little of her power remaining because the fucking seal that supposedly was there some time ago, and the evil spirits that lived on those islands I don't know how many years ago, and then Beato came along and angered them or something or whatever. Everything about the magic narrative makes so much fucking sense. Ryukishi could write an actual story just using the magic narrative of Umineko.
He just knew how to make it like 90% red herrings, and then like the actual answer is like so far-fetched that you're like, okay, well, I believe it. You definitely laid out all the answers, but like you definitely threw us in a million different directions, and we definitely, I mean, for most people it's so hard to like come to the actual like answer because of how well it was like he wove the misdirection into the literal answers he's like handing out like candy, because you're just like, what am I doing? How do I think magic is real? That's the easiest way to go about it. And then he teaches you, hey, you're an idiot for believing in magic, and also you're a monster for rereading this and trying to like solve the mystery from the inside out. But whatever.
But it's also, he knows how to sprinkle those things in so masterfully, because let's just look at this part that we've been analyzing. We've gone over so many great red herrings, but also through so many blatant truths that were right there before our eyes that we just didn't interpret correctly.
Exactly.
It's just,
what's like a classic red herring that they did for this one? I think like the whole like how they kept talking about, like they were like, yes, like the magic world super close to the current world, like that's like a super big red herring, like classic, like you think it's like totally magic, but like that has nothing to do with anything. What's another very big red herring in Umi?
The charms, the magic circles, the scorpion thing.
So it's a funny thing. So my friend who's currently reading Umineko, I'm having so much fun watching my friend play it, because it's just like, there's nothing more fun to watch somebody currently just struggling through Umineko, thinking that they have gotten somewhere, but they're so wrong. And then, right? But one of the things that they were talking to me about is like they were trying to analyze the like charms and so on and so forth. And I don't know if you remember this, but there's a CG of Maria's face like getting super wide, like the eyes getting super wide.
Yeah.
and like you can actually see like a person's shadow in her eyes,
What?
and that person's shadow is actually wearing looking like a hat. So like he was like, oh, is that like canon? Like, should I analyze a CG this much? And I was like, I don't know.
What?
If you want to analyze a CG, you can analyze a CG. I don't know what to tell you. So, like, there's a lot of things that, like, he was trying to look at, like, he's like, oh, there's, like, on the Hebrew signs, there are, like, 18 signs. Is that, like, specific? Like, should I focus
Oh
this
my
much
God.
time on looking at the... Like, yeah, my friend is a puzzle solver. Like, he does he writes, like, puzzles, and he, like, makes crossword puzzles. So, like, he was like, oh, I really want to
nice.
know, like, is there any hidden code or anything? And then my advice to him was, like, there's a lot of code that already showed up. Or there's a lot of red herrings, and you just have to keep reading, figure out which one is real and which one is not. I just watch him, and he's trying to like decode like the Hebrew and like blah blah, and I'm like, I don't even know which one to tell you. Like, it's just so funny to like watch people struggle, because you're like, oh, you're so wrong, but you're also right, but you're wrong because you don't get what's happening.
As someone reading for the first time would.
He's jumping in.
It'd be really interesting if someone read it for the first time and just didn't buy the magic bullshit. That'd be such a power move. Knowing someone who'd be like, yes, I never for a minute thought the magic shit was real. And all the way through Umineko.
I'm not even sure if that's possible. For example, like, my friend is the type of person who's, like, constantly doubting. And I think, like, he's like, well, I don't want to believe the magic is real. Like, you know, like, it gives you so many, like, ideas that magic is real. And he's like, then why are they even talking about, like, Beatrice if magic isn't real? He's like, I kind of want it to be real, but, so he has all these conflicting thoughts. And so I think, like, because the story holds so much potential, and I think, like, he's currently on EP1, so I think, like, he really wants he wants magic to be real, so, like, then time loops can happen. So, like, because he's like, there's so many characters, like, because in a regular person's mind, time loop can only happen if magic is real, if that makes any sense. Like, that's the only logical way that a time loop can happen, is magic is real, Beatrice is real, but, like, Umineko's the kind of narrative where time loop is real, quote unquote, magic is not real, which is
because,
real.
Yeah, the magic of the real world are metaphors.
Yes, correct. I think it's really funny when Lorenzo said, like, oh, like, Umineko's written, like, some kind of bad fan fiction. Then, meanwhile, I'm just sitting here, I'm like, it is, though. But it's just, like, Umineko's essentially just real-life fan
It's like the previous episode where you mentioned that they, Deadass did the, and the tsundere is popular in a different time period. Or, like, Jessica would definitely be a tsundere at this point in the story.
Yeah, like, that's how I feel, because I'm like, oh, like, Umineko EP1 and 2 definitely is just an editorial version of the original story. Somebody adapted it, and I just think that's incredibly funny. Like, I don't know. Umineko is such a deep story. What the fuck? How did Ryukishi write this? Like, what was going on in his mind?
Ryukishi really did astral project
Truly,
during the writing of Umineko.
Yeah, astral projected. Maybe our whole world is just a story written by Featherface.
Ryukishi is the god of our world. What?
I mean, there are, but...
I mean, is there any other person we want to talk about?
But we can definitely keep, like, talking about extra stuff that popped out, like Kinzo being dead and decomposing in his room, or...
Oh, wait. Yeah, we didn't even tackle Kinzo at all. There's so much, like, fucking hilariously red herring things about Kinzo, about how Nasi's like, no, don't go check on him, I mean by his...
And then Ava's like, bruh, we know he's, like, probably not here anymore, so let me just, like, expose you. And she's like, no, it's fine, you don't have to. You guys are guests. I can just check on him. And then everybody else is like, why does he smell like death inside of his room?
Yeah, the fucking liquor. That's another red herring. The liquor, the stink of the liquor.
Yeah, and
right. That's how the first episode opens up.
Yeah,
and that red herring goes on through the whole story every time Kinzo's corpse is supposed to smell.
Exactly. No, I think it's I think Dee pointed out it could be formaldehyde for preservation liquid, embalming fluids to make
shit.
I'd say it's rather they perfuming the study so that
Yeah,
the corpse
that
stink
too.
doesn't reach the hallway.
You guys hear of that one case where this dude was like obsessed with this lady who died from tuberculosis, and he stole her corpse and like
Yes.
yeah, and then used like perfume to keep it from stinking too bad, and he like basically
yes,
turned into
and then
a doll.
dance with the corpse for like 2 years or something.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
so
fucking-
wild that
that's some wild ass shit, man.
oh yeah, it happened IRL, and now it's happening in Umineko. So art imitates life, I guess.
Yeah, that's crazy. I think the whole Kingsville body stuff is like it's really ridiculous. Oh, so on a really funny note, my friend who is reading EP1 right now told me he's every time Natsu says, well, like Kingsville told me that I'm there, the one wing ego in my heart, he keeps being like, that's a really out of character thing for Kingsville to say. Like, isn't that weird?
Right.
And I just think it's really
yeah.
funny because my friend like keeps thinking that scene is really like OC, and I'm like, you might be onto something, you know.
I also like how Battler got upset that Beatrice self-inserted herself into the story. He's like, what the hell is this? That's kind of the same vibe.
Butler
Yeah,
POV.
exactly. Like, how dare you come into my family?
That was literally Butler's reaction. He was like that meme with Dante on the hill. What the hell is this?
Right? He's like, what the hell are you doing? Like, you can't just do that. Or like, this is not how things are supposed to go.
Yeah. You mean to tell me a witch just came from the front
Right.
door? Ah, no, man.
And he's so like, he's like irrationally upset, I'd say. Like, he just like, the voice actor straight up screams. He's like, what? What are you doing?
You're fucking this up.
Yeah, because supposedly there's no magic, right? Butler's fighting to prove there's no magic, but then a witch just fucking appears. God damn.
I think when I was first playing Umineko, what actually really confused me is that I was really confused by the idea. I was like, why is Battler denying magic is real? Isn't he just seeing
Yeah.
his family like reliving the day over and over again? Isn't that just obvious evidence that magic is real? Like, why is he so upset about this? And meanwhile, he's arguing about magic isn't real while arguing the fact that there's a 19th person. And I'm like, how is that even possible? You're arguing for two very dramatically different things, because if you saying that magic isn't real, then there's nobody else killed your family besides your family. But then you're also saying there's a 19th person, which means magic is real. Like, Heller, get your facts straight. Like, what the hell?
Yeah, isn't that like Beto's argument?
Right?
Saying like, Butler, get your head out of your arse.
Yeah, exactly.
I feel like I should have mentioned this like way earlier, but in the beginning of when I was first reading Umineko, I actually was flipping between Canon and Shannon sprites. I was like, there's no way that people with similar names and dress similarly are like different people. They even have like the same eye color. And I was like, nah, they have different colored hair, and they have like, Shannon has boobs and Canon has a little bit of a thick waist, but I'm not going to like think about that. And I was just like, man, I fell for
Really?
Yeah, I was like,
That's so...
I mean, okay, spoilers for like Danganronpa and like other games with like trans or queer or, you know, genderqueer characters. I was like, they do this so often in the visual novels that I've read that I can't just like not think that there's some sort of
That's
like gender
true,
fuckery
that's
going
true.
on. And I'm like,
I mean, I think, like, I would have to say, like, Umineko is one of the novels that I feel like do a better job than, like, other shit. Like, I have very conflicting feelings about, like, Danganronpa in general already, and how Danganronpa, like, handles gender queer characters just gives me a lot of yike feels sometimes.
oh, totally. I mean, like, for whatever reason, I feel like it's a trope. So I know that, like, LGBT stuff isn't as progressive as, like, the States, but, like, for whatever reason, they seem to, like, mystify and, like, almost fetishize, like, trans and queer characters. They, like, make them, like, magical beings.
Yeah.
Like, spoilers for Catherine Full Body. We mentioned this before in, like, a previous episode.
The trans people are actually
fucking-
minions. They're minions.
They're alien. They're minions.
They're
They're
minions.
penis minions.
Yeah.
You're just like, okay, I guess. I think,
It's...
and like Danganronpa was kind of weird about it.
Yeah.
I think Steins Gate was okay
Steins
about
Gate
it. It was still a little bit strange,
Steins
but I was
Gate
like,
is weird. Not like the good thing is at least like nobody actively misgenders them in the way that like it's just more not misgenders them. I guess they do, but like the point is like it's more like, oh my god, they're a guy. What? Oh, actually, I don't remember. Oh my god.
It was
that's
their
really
guy,
weird.
but
Actually, that's I take it back. Science-Gate might take it like
yeah. Yeah, it's weird because he was like, oh my god, they're so attractive, but it's a dude. And then there's a whole, like, intentionally comedic scene about, oh, but it's a dude. And then, like, there's a groping scene, and I'm like, I don't know.
but they're not like
Luca,
but that's not
like,
the whole point,
Luca's
right?
story arc is sweet in that they're like, I will literally sacrifice my mental health of being comfortable in my own body for saving my friend's life, but like literally everything else is like,
oh, that's so
why
true.
do they do
Oh my
this?
god, we have to do an episode about just Umineko or just VN in gender because I have so much thoughts on it. Because like I would have to say, like, despite of anything I think about Umineko, I do think Umineko does a fairly good job being actually more respectful about the whole gender queer idea than most visual novels did. Like a lot of visual novels missed the mark really bad. I guess, like, that's how I feel. But, like, at least Umineko, I think, does a better job. Would you guys agree with that or no?
Yeah, totally. I think I do, because they don't, I mean, they obviously make it, like, a huge, like, revelation, and they kind of shroud it in magic, but they don't, like, fetishize it, I'd say. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's weird. It's
I
definitely
agree,
strange. It's a whole episode and it's on its own, but like I just bring it up because I was like, okay, these two are like definitely the same people, to like, nah, I don't think so.
No, I get your point. I think, like, it's funny because my friend keeps calling Kanan just like, he's like, I'm excited for my femboy to become really cool. That's essentially what my friend keeps saying. And I think it's funny.
Yeah.
Like, hey, I don't know. I think, like, there's a long way to go for just, like, I guess genderqueer people or just trans people in media in general, and Japan is definitely not one of the forefronts of where, like, good narratives are told yet. Like, there's a lot of, like, mysticism about, like, being, like, femboys or, like, or traps or whatever. Traps is a bad word, don't even fucking use it. Like, I will come for you. But, like, it's just, it's not the best, I would say. But, yeah.
Yeah. It's weird. It's definitely like, the thing is, Umineko's mystery, I don't know, should we like just go into this now or like put a earmark on it for later?
We should put an earmark on it later. I feel like we can talk about a whole episode.
Yes.
I think this is actually one of the first like conversation I had with Dee, was us arguing about how legit we should take Umineko's queer narrative, and my thought was like, queer reading of Umineko is extremely important, and I think we should do a whole episode about this. I guess this is a teaser.
I think my opinion on delving into those topics is like, as long as you're being respectable about it and discussing just with the intention of understanding a character better and not with the intention of ripping the character to shreds, or a good example of this is Sayo's
gender
at birth. Like, if you're discussing their gender just as a way to better your understanding of the character, then I'd say that's fine. But like, if you're trying to discuss their gender just because, just because, you know, then it's kind of
Yeah, I think it was like applying a label to like the genders, like missing the point of, you know, who they are as a person and their role in the story. But like, again, we can like probably put a pin in this.
Yeah,
and, like,
I definitely
save it for
think
later.
so. I just think like there's so many very good things about, like, there's a lot of very base things that Umineko talks about that never shows up in any other game, and like the accurate, like the very good accurate depiction, or like not like accurate but relatable depiction of like gender dysphoria is like been actually, like, I've been talking to a lot of people and they're like, yeah, I like it, like it's good. And Leon is great. I love Leon. When we get to Leon, I'm just gonna gush about Leon.
Right?
okay.
Yeah. I think this is it. This is the end of the episode?
Yes. So
I hope so. My mother's gonna be so mad at me this took so long.
Right. Well, thank you so much for sticking with us, you guys, and also the listeners. If you did stick with us to this point, hopefully it will be edited down a lot because there was a lot of interruptions from my end. But again, thank you so much. See you next time. See cats, do crimes. Toodles.